Welcome to Clariot Noir. Like, comment, and subscribe for more real scary stories. Where did she learn how to do that? That's what I want to know. That's what I say in the car to nobody when I want to blame her for what happened. Penny has been missing for 15 years today. We'd only come back to school from the holidays a few weeks ago and hadn't seen one another during that time. After a weekend visit spent with my parents in the living room, we were eager to find a space to be alone. I suggested the rectory on Mark Street, a 19th century building maintained by a local historical foundation, but otherwise empty. The church it had literally been attached to burned down several decades ago. I'd overheard my dad talking about it to my mom, though I never learned why until much later. He thought it should be demolished because it was dumb, in his opinion, to keep a place around and not use it for anything. Just an empty building, he said. Penny and I were only planning to scout it out that day. It was in a pretty rough part of town. The houses around the rectory looked abandoned too, but shittier. There were shady people lurking on the porches, staring at us. They didn't look like they lived there or anywhere. I was starting to get nervous, but they all found something else to do as Penny tugged my arm to the front door. "It's open," she said, grinning and laughing as she weaved her fingers into mine and gently pulled me into a fancy-looking foyer from a different age. The furniture, the floors, the walls, the windows, and everything was ornate and polished and clean. I found it strange. We could grab a lamp or walk out with a sculpture. Nobody appeared to be around to stop us. So why hadn't the scummy people outside done just that? Maybe I judged them wrong, but I don't think so. The way they stopped looking at us was intentional. Now I know why. Only Penny's persistent pulling kept me going further into the antique homestead. It was cold. There was no modern furnace or running water. The place seemed huge for the priest who must have lived there some time ago. We found a study and a living room with a fireplace. Penny thought we should build a fire. "People will see the smoke," I said. "Plus there's no firewood." She looked disappointed. I couldn't bear to see her sad. I loved her deeply, but felt it was too soon in the relationship to tell her. God, she was beautiful. To list her features wouldn't express the light she carried. She could share a little of it with her admirers, of which there were many, with her smile, an expression that embraced joy fully, without fear or shame or reservation. Unapologetic happiness, I might call it, if that were completely accurate. Imagine a person who tells you over and over again that everything will be all right, and how each time they do, you feel worse. Then imagine someone smiling because they accept that everything may not work out, and there's absolutely nothing to be done about it. That was Penny. I've never met another person like her. I miss her every day. "Let's look around," I said. "Maybe we'll find some wood." Really, I wanted to ensure we were alone. As we went through the foyer again on our way to the stairs, I locked the front door. "Why did you do that?" she asked. "Well, if somebody comes, it'll give us a few seconds to get away or hide." She reached past me and opened the deadbolt. "If there's someone in here, it'll slow down our escape." "Oh, right." She kissed me and took my hand again. The stairs creaked so much there wasn't any point in sneaking. If somebody was upstairs, they heard us coming. Sunlight illuminating the hallway from an open bedroom window extinguished with the scraping sound of curtain rings sliding along the rod. It wasn't pitch black, but it was dark. I turned around, but felt resistance from Penny. "Let's go, there's someone here," I whispered. Tugging her proved futile. "Penny, come on." Her hand slipped from mine, and she leapt the last step, grinning as she crouched like a spy. "I don't think anyone is here." I shook my head incredulously. "Penny, this isn't a game. It could be someone dangerous." The grin faded. "I just want to be sure. I want to be alone with you. We could pretend this is our house, for a while." She got a little closer. Her breath smelled like sweet tarts and root beer. "If we find someone, we'll run, I promise." Stupidly, I agreed to her terms. "It came from there," I said, pointing to the nearest open bedroom door. "We mean no harm," Penny called out, and I winced. "Tell us to go, and we will." She gave me a wink while we waited for a response. Nothing followed. We crept forward together into the threshold of the bedroom. Again, every piece of furniture, the bed, the dresser, a jewelry box, had been meticulously maintained. Penny walked right in before I could stop her. There were only a few places to hide, and she quickly searched them all, including a look under the bed. That left the closet. Those hazel eyes containing all the stars in the universe ran over the polished redwood door and the brass knob. "Penny, don't! It's the only place left to hide." Her eyebrows danced, and she stuck her tongue out at me. "In this room," I said. "There's still the rest of the house." "We'll lock the door or block it with the dresser." She wrapped her arms around my back, lightly tracing my shoulder blades with her fingertips and kissing me. It'd been a long time since we'd been alone. "Let's go to bed," she whispered, pulling again, this time toward the bed covered with an antique quilt. I almost put aside my unease and fear and surrendered entirely to the girl I will love forever. If only I had. Instead, I detached from her when she started fumbling with my belt. If we started something, there'd be no way I could stop. I went to the closet and threw open the door and found my exact fear standing there. A man, huge and menacing and dressed in a cloak, lurking in the dark. I released a strangled shriek before leaping away and knocking over a small table. The glass candle holder on it fell and smashed to pieces on the hardwood floor. Penny laughed, and it hurt. The situation felt like an ambush. "You!" I said, my tone in accusation. For the first time, her unabashed smile faltered. She got off the edge of the bed and walked into the closet while I hyperventilated. Penny dragged a full-sized wooden mannequin into the dim light of the bedroom and let it fall. Most people are familiar with the desk-sized version of the featureless and posable wooden man. I didn't know they were also made really big. This one looked constructed of the same wood as the floor. The oval head appeared camouflaged for the colors throughout the rectory. If it wasn't for the black long coat, not a cloak, on it, the mannequin would have been practically invisible. "Penny," I said, "I'm sorry." She ignored the apology, her attention concerned with the doll. "What is this thing?" "An old-timey mannequin," I said. "Like for an artist?" I shrugged. Penny pulled open the long coat to examine the model's genderless crotch. "Doesn't seem to be a sex doll." She laughed and started lifting it. "What are you doing?" She groaned from the strain of the solid homunculus. "Help me put it on the bed." "Okay." We lay it on top of the blankets as Penny roughly placed its head on the pillow. She pulled open the curtains, the same ones I swore I'd heard closing before, to let in sunlight, but the day had gone gray, and it didn't help to brighten the room much. Undaunted, Penny climbed into bed with the mannequin and ran her fingers suggestively over its bare chest. Finally, a partner who's chill. I bore the slight without reply. Her words stung hard. Like a fool, I stood there, unsure what to do next. Our moment alone seemed to be passing, and I didn't know how to rescue it. Penny's keys jingled as she pulled them from her jacket pocket. She held the tip of one to the mannequin's polished and featureless face and started scratching out a mouth. "Penny, what are you doing? Stop!" My boots crunched the broken glass as I went to the bed. "Making someone who's happy to be here with me. He can't move, so he has to trust me." "I trust you," I said, but it sounded pathetic. "I was scared, and you just smiled when I opened the door and thought we'd found a squatter." The mouth she'd carved was full of square teeth, smiling, but not with joy or freedom. Its face would look forever sadistic after Penny's work, and she'd only just begun. Her whittling did not cease as she replied, "You think I brought you here to have you killed or something? It was your idea to come." "I'm sorry." "What are we doing together? What is our relationship?" The carving slowed as she closed the mannequin's first eye socket, a wobbly circle. "I thought we were going somewhere." "We are," I said. I hope, Penny. I love you. I haven't said it because it hasn't been that long. How do you love somebody you don't trust?" The discussion had escalated to such a heightened state. I lost my words again and couldn't seem to swallow in a throat gone dry. After a prolonged quiet punctuated by the scraping of her key, now along its chest, I spoke. "I'm sorry," I said. I definitely didn't mean to leap to such a stupid conclusion. People make poor choices when they're afraid." She sighed. and a ripple of fatigue seemed to leak from her expression for just a moment. I didn't realize then the part she hid from the world and the constant fight within her to stay in the moment. Penny never told me about her real parents. "I've got an idea," she said, grinning once again. "Help me with our man here." She unlooped a key from her rabbit's paw and gave it to me. "Whenever I get sad, I try to put those feelings into some art or exercise. Let's put all of our mistakes and self-hatred into the mannequin." I examined the key because I didn't understand what she meant. "Don't think too much," she said. Let go." The carving continued, but instead of personifying the blank doll more, Penny rented symbols I didn't recognize, arcane sigils and runes. She read a lot. Maybe the signs were from a book. I didn't ask because I didn't want to wreck her suggestion for mending our apparently fragile relationship. The tip of the key peeled the surface of the wood with surprising ease. "Pig," I wrote across the new man's forehead. I don't know why. Penny squeezed my hand as I studied my first contribution. Why did I write that? "Don't think. Keep going." Our work began in earnest. I wrote swear words along his legs and added "loser" to the top row of his square teeth. We were laughing as we flipped him over. I began adding more humanity to him in the form of moles, scars, and scraggly hair on the back of his otherwise bald head. Ugly, useless, pathetic, alone. The room filled with night a few moments after we'd finished humiliating the mannequin. We'd been at it for hours. It felt good to humanize an object, only to shame it afterwards. But it also felt wrong. I was sweaty and out of breath. So was Penny. She pulled me onto our creation and undid my belt and found the button of my jeans. My hands found her, and it was truly dark when we finally got to the reason we'd come in the first place. It wasn't what I expected. We'd never gone all the way before, and this was my first time. I loved her, but having sex on top of the mannequin was weird and physically uncomfortable. And yet, it all felt so good. Penny held me close as I began to cry. "I can feel your tears," she said. "Why are you crying?" I couldn't explain the perfection of us at the moment. I was really happy for the first time in my life, and the last. Penny's fingernails dug into my back, and then she started slapping me wildly. "Penny, what are you doing?" I grabbed for her blindly and tried unsuccessfully to trap her arms and pin her writhing body with my weight. The sturdy objects in the room absorbed the sickening pop of bones. Penny went limp. "Penny? Penny!" It was too dark to do anything. I needed some light, and all I could think of was the oil lamp I'd seen in the front hall. Charging into the hallway, I misjudged where I thought the staircase was and ran into another small table. Yet another fragile object fell and shattered on the floor. I took a deep breath. Penny. I had to be calm if I was going to help her. When I moved back toward where I thought the bedroom was, I encountered something solid. Before I could figure out what, I was on my ass. Bits of glass on the floor cut into my palms. "Penny?" I thought we'd bumped into one another. A heavy step connected with the hardwood. Quiet followed. It wasn't Penny. I would have knocked her down in a collision. Somebody else was in the house. Why didn't I search everywhere?